Hey everyone, welcome to the Wrestling Experience.
Where we really like Riddle's business ideas, even though the Hurt Business doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, we got the munchies, and I really like the bro nut idea. So call us Riddle if ever you wanna work
Yeah,
with us.
we can't offer much other than support.
Exactly. I'm Jazz,
I'm Johnny.
and we are here to recap Monday Night Raw, which I guess in a nutshell, I guess I could say that it was an excellent 2 hour episode and a really good 3 hour episode. Right?
That's one way to put it. Yeah,
I don't know, man. Like it's just it was a really really good episode. I thought that it was much better than what we saw on SmackDown. That's for sure.
I
Right?
have to agree with you there.
Yeah.
Yeah, SmackDown wasn't as good
Yeah.
as this episode of Raw.
And the show opens up with a moment of bliss. She's really excited for her guest. She introduces him as the 14-time world champion, even her favorite superstar, Randy Orton. And
That's crazy.
yeah, and Randy Orton, and basically Alexa sees that Randy's in a foul mood. We actually see a recap of the Fiend basically interfering in Orton's match against AJ Styles, costing him a title opportunity. So obviously he was not in a great mood. And Orton kind of talks about his history with Bray Wyatt, how he has actually known Bray Wyatt a long time, but the Fiend, we haven't been formally introduced, which is a
Does this prove that they are in fact two different people, Bray Wyatt and the Fiend?
maybe he met the
Maybe.
persona. You know what I mean? Like I don't know, but he
Yeah.
he does talk about how they have a couple of things in common, right? The difference is that the Fiend, all of his pain and all of his suffering, he kind of wears it in the exterior, as opposed to Randy Orton, who kind of keeps it in. He keeps it bottled up so he can blend in. And, he talks about how he hears voices, the Fiend hears voices too, but those voices are actually his, which I thought was a pretty good line.
But whose voices is Randy Orton hearing? Is he hear someone else's voices and then he says voices to Bray Wyatt or the Fiend? Like that's the real question here. Or is he hearing himself?
That's the mystery. That's the mystery. So Randy goes over their history, his vulnerabilities, and how he burned it to the ground, which in reference to the Wyatt compound. And
And Seth Rollins. Burn
and
it down, you know?
exactly. And now he talks about finding the Fiend's weakness, and he's actually looking at it. Like he's staring at Alexa, and and then they basically both start playing mind games. The lights they fade to black, and when the Fiend appears, however, Randy's actually holding on to Alexa, and the Fiend seems to be weakening, or he like basically Randy confirms that Alexa Bliss seems to be the Fiend's weakness.
Yeah, and he really wants Randy to hand her back to him,
Mm-hmm.
and he does. But Randy slithers out of the ring, and then he's like, "Now who's laughing?" And he starts laughing. So that was that was very very interesting.
Yeah, he
And
seems to have
this
gotten into
feud,
the Fiend's head.
this feud looks very good. I like Randy Orton digging deep to become a psychopath for this. Like this, hopefully, is better than what they did last time because, I mean, the build was amazing, but the match didn't end up delivering. I feel
Yeah, for sure. I
that
mean,
was a long
I
time
think
ago.
that was a long time ago, exactly. As long as we don't see projections of maggots, overhead onto the ring, I think we'll be fine, right?
The House of Horrors, is that what it was called? House of Horrors match.
Something like
Yeah.
that. So,
Okay.
Johnny, how do you feel about a Symphony of Destruction match? Because that's what we have up next.
I love Symphony of Destruction matches, and this match like seemed worse than it actually was because I guess we're all fed up with this Jeff Hardy Elias thing, but it was actually not that bad. There was a lot of fun spots with the music again.
Yeah.
There was a whole 24/7 segment in the middle of the match, and there was a couple of awesome moves from Elias and Jeff Hardy. So the Art Truth segment is basically him in the piano. He was in a grand piano, and Elias noticed, and then everybody chased him down. And it turns out that Jeff and Elias, yeah,
I'm sorry, you said piano, but it wasn't just an ordinary piano. This was the Shinsuke Nakamura Memorial Piano.
I did not understand that at
That's
all.
what
What
they.
was the?
Dude, don't you remember when Shinsuke like almost got like killed by like I don't know if it was a power slam or an overhead suplex or something, and he landed so badly onto the piano. Do you not remember that?
No, I
Oh,
apologize.
man.
I have to go look this up when this is over.
Gotta do your research. But yes, it was the
Wow.
Shinsuke Nakamura Memorial Piano. I thought it was pretty funny.
I mean, not, now that you've explained it to me, yes, it is in fact funny.
Thank you.
But yeah, so Elias and Jeff, they both swing guitars at like I think Drew Gulak gets body dropped by Jeff Hardy when he was chasing R-Truth, and Elias takes out both of the Lucha Bros.
Mm-hmm.
The match continues, of course. after the commercial, and then there's like some nice spots with like a Whisper of the Wind attempt where Elias knocks him out in midair with a guitar. Elias gets electrocuted when he charges at an amplifier. That was funny because
that was towards the end.
Yeah, I don't think that's supposed to happen. And then there's a table set up at the corner in front of the steps, and Jeff does a swanton from the ring post to end the match. It was quite beautiful. It looked like it could have like a small miscalculation could have led to disaster. Like he could have smashed his head on the steps, but everyone looked okay after that.
But come on, man! Like Jeff Hardy is in his 40s. He should not be doing these spots. The way he landed, man, like I saw his neck and I was like, yeah, that could have been bad. That could have been bad.
They were building this as the final chapter, so I got Seth Rollins, Rey Mysterio vibes instantly because they kept saying final chapter. So,
yes, thank you for that reminder. So now we're backstage. Keith Lee's working out. He's preparing for his sudden death triple threat match later tonight when he's approached by Riddle. And, Riddle talks about how it's a huge opportunity for the three of them. And he's basically talking him up nonstop. Keith Lee wants to interject and talk, but Riddle has just so much to say. Mm-hmm. He does an Austin Powers reference. And when the camera pans back, Keith Lee's gone.
Yeah, it was like a weird Scottish accent attempt. Was he doing Goldmember? I'm not even sure.
No, he wasn't doing Goldmember. He was doing Fat Bastard.
Yes, there you go. He's Scottish. Goldmember's Dutch, right? I don't even remember.
There you go. Yes, his Faja.
Yes, but the best part was the sudden death triple threat, which is nothing special other than just triple threat match.
Exactly.
There's nothing different. Absolutely nothing different about this.
It was really funny. So now we're going to jump to a recap from 3 weeks ago when Ali talked down on Ricochet, and basically we also see a recap of when he defeated him on Raw. And it seems that Retribution isn't done with him. Ali basically asked him, like, why can't you see what has happened to you has already happened to us? Why can't you see that you're supposed to be with us? Slapjack says that, Ali actually showed him the way when the rest of the world rejected him. Ali showed me what I truly was, a weapon for Retribution. And Ali says that, since you won't join us, Slapjack will show you the consequences of your action. And then we see a really, really good video. I think it was posted on Twitter or something, and they actually showed it as a backstage segment on Raw from Ricochet. And, he talked about how he wanted to save Ali at first, but the more he thought about it, he realized that he actually needed to be better than Ali. That, he talks about how I needed to surpass you, and I need to show you that you're going the wrong way, and the best way of doing that is kicking you in the head. So I thought it was a pretty good segment from Ricochet, who's not really known for his talking ability.
Yeah, one of the better ones from Ricochet. I liked it. I liked this approach. I don't know why Mustafa Ali is still trying to get Ricochet on board, but it's definitely not going to go well.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't much of a match, though, right? They only got 3 minutes, and
this was not even like it was nothing, right?
It was just Ali barking at Ricochet getting distracted, and then when Ricochet was in control, you have T-Bar and Mace that kind of run down. Ricochet he throws Slapjack at them, and he launches himself outside, and then on the other side, Dana Brooke comes out. She is asking for reckoning. She slaps Ali, and then with all this distraction, Slapjack gets a win on Ricochet. So, sure.
It wasn't an exciting match, but the development of Dana Brooke getting involved is an interesting one. So you got to give credit at least there.
No, yeah,
and that does play a part later in the episode as well.
Yeah. So we're going to jump to Miz TV with special guest Sheamus. I'm honestly very, very bored with the whole Miz TV segments. I feel like they're doing their job well at being preposterous and very annoying and loud with their whole correcting. And I don't know, but basically this whole point was, Sheamus wants to get to the point, and they basically talk about Drew McIntyre, how, 2 weeks ago, you give him his family chest from Scotland and he doesn't give you anything in return. And Sheamus is like, well, you wouldn't know because, part of being a friend is not asking for anything in return. And they basically talk about how Drew has won the title, but he hasn't given Sheamus an opportunity. And Miz is like, as soon as I cash in, John Morrison is first in line. Essentially, they're trying to cause a rift between Sheamus and Drew McIntyre, but that kind of backfires on them, right?
That's what friends do, bro. I mean, I did enjoy Morrison's introduction to Sheamus saying he loves fighting, but he hates tanning. I thought that was kind of funny. But the whole point of this is to, divide Sheamus and Drew, who are in a tag match against them for the main event tonight. And Sheamus doesn't seem to care. He actually starts getting upset when they attack Sheamus, saying he's not credible, he hasn't been champion for a while. And Sheamus starts getting physical, beating them both up until the numbers game and the briefcase become too insurmountable, and he gets beat down. And surprisingly, no Drew McIntyre to the rescue here.
Yeah.
And that's going to play a role in the narrative later.
Yeah, so now we're going to go to gorilla position where Lana and Asuka are basically just saying yes. Asuka is saying a bunch of things in Japanese, and when Sarah wants to know what the strategy is, Lana says that, well, actually, you wouldn't understand, but Shayna and I are about to. And, again, like, they didn't get that much time for this match. I think I kind of knew where the story was going, which basically was that, you know, Shayna and Nia were working on Lana. They were basically putting her down. Lana did kind of show a valiant effort, but she was just overpowered by both heels until Asuka gets the hot tag, and then Asuka kind of cleans house. Towards the end, again, Lana is again being beat down. Shayna Baszler has her in the Akira Fuda clutch, and then Asuka breaks the count by kicking Shayna in the head. And then while all this is happening, Lana just pins Shayna, or Lana was actually on Shayna, and the ref just counted 3, and that's how.
And you forgot a small little detail, which was before the match, Shania also got their chance to discuss, and they're like upset about what happened. They don't they blame each other for what happened. Yeah. Shayna's upset because she understands losing to an athlete like Asuka, but not to Lana. It's a joke. Yeah. They blame each other for what happened, and that was just a fluke. And it was not, because Shayna got pinned this time, and after laughing at Lana. So there's some true justice for you.
And for the second week in a row, Lana did not go through a table. So now we have a new streak.
I love the new streak. Let's see how long it takes before it's broken.
Yeah. So so now we have a backstage segment with Sheamus and Drew McIntyre. What did you think about their interaction backstage?
It was interesting. It was almost like Drew tried to make him feel better about the fact that he wasn't there.
Yeah.
Didn't really give a valid reason why he wasn't there. And then Sheamus kind of like, yeah, I would have done the same thing. I wouldn't have come to help you. And then it's like they're gonna turn on each other. They're joking about it, but really they're just brothers. You know, they're bros, and they're gonna team up tonight.
Yeah, exactly. I like the fact that, you know, when Sheamus said that I would have done the same, Drew's like, that's exactly what I was looking for. He's like, now, are you ready? Are you pumped up? And Sheamus was like, yeah, because before, that was just the appetizer, and I can't wait for the main course tonight. So, a lot of food references lately. It's
Thanksgiving. It's the Thanksgiving, post-Thanksgiving episode.
There you go.
That's all it is.
So now, this was a pretty interesting development between the New Day and the Hurt Business. So, let's break it down. The New Day, they're out, and they talk about Xavier Woods being the new host of G4. And Xavier Woods basically talks about how, you know, he's been achieving his dreams, like, first of all, becoming a WWE superstar, being a future King of the Ring, because that's obviously going to happen, having up, down, down, and now he's, you know, really humbled by the love and the support. Then they start recapping the last couple of weeks that they have between the Hurt Business, and the Hurt Business are kind of fed up. MVP talks about how, you know, they really need a wake-up call really badly. They're actually 2-2 when the referee actually raised their hands when the New Day got counted out. And the next time you guys are willing to put out your titles, well, you know, it's going to be the Hurt Business that's going to stand tall. And Cedric is showing some fire that we haven't seen from him ever, right?
Yes, whatever he ate at Thanksgiving, give us some of it, because it must have been good.
Yeah.
He also kind of throws shade at Shelton, too, because he's like, I'm not Shelton. I didn't get pinned. And I'm like, okay, right? Interesting. Walk before you can run, buddy. But yeah, he basically challenges Woods, gets in his face, and I think he even gets a cheap shot before the match even starts, and we have this one-on-one match, which is good, but kind of short, right? Nothing really happens. There wasn't much to talk about.
I mean, there was one segment that I really liked, but I mean, yeah, I do agree with you. There wasn't much to talk about, but Xavier Woods was going for a powerbomb, but Cedric actually reversed it and then nailed him with a really sick-looking brainbuster. I thought
that was like the first thing I was like, okay, because the fight was mostly a lot of aggression from Cedric Alexander at first, but then this was a really crazy spot. There's a dive on the outside as well from Alexander that Woods kind of sidesteps in a very elegant way, which was cool.
But that's the thing. I mean, Woods, the whole time, he was nursing a back injury, and then when Woods kind of nailed him onto the barricade, you would think that Woods was the one that had the advantage, but Woods was so slow in getting back into the ring that when Woods finally did get into the ring, Cedric Alexander was already, you know, I guess freshened up and whatever, and he just hits him with a lumbar check for the win. So,
and he was super happy. He ran away. He didn't even celebrate with the Hurt Business, which was also pretty crazy.
Yeah, he's got fire in his eyes. It was so funny. Like, they're all confused, and Shelton's like, "What the hell's going on?" Like, you know, but whatever. Like, Cedric was really happy to win.
Yeah. And now we get the second Riddle backstage segment of the night. There's a lot of them, and Riddle's been very good on Raw. And this time he goes up to his other opponent, AJ.
It was so good.
AJ reminds us that it's a big deal. It's a sudden death triple threat, which again, it's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Riddle's happy about getting his chance. You know, he says AJ had a chance. He was the champion. He lost it. Then he makes a reference to the skipper, and he says he's going to get the carrot, and then almost likes it. He laughs at the joke because he understands it, and AJ's like, what are you guys talking to each other? Like, what's going on? I told you not to talk to him. And Riddle ends up complimenting AJ, saying, I like the nickname Skipper for you because, you know, you're kind of furry, you're kind of cute. And then AJ doesn't like that, so he pushes him and runs off.
Now,
and he says he's gonna get him back. It was so funny.
I have a couple of points. Okay, number one, yeah. I really like this friendship between Omos and Riddle. Like, you know, the fact that they're talking, or whatever, we don't know. But number two,
he never speaks, but he speaks to Riddle. It's kind of great.
But number two, does AJ Styles have something against the cute community?
I don't know. What's wrong with being cute, man? That's a compliment.
The cute community is not happy with AJ's comments.
He's getting his cute membership revoked, I hear.
Yeah. So we're gonna jump to the sudden death triple threat match. I can't talk right now. I'm sorry.
Sudden threat, triple threat.
And I thought this match was excellent.
Yes.
You know, I also thought that the right person won, especially with Keith Lee and Riddle having feuds of their own, it seems. But I like the beginning, how it was pretty clever, as Styles would always escape pretty much every attack from Lee and Riddle. And basically he would kind of get in some cheap shots like the punch to the throat on Matt Riddle. Nobody was really able to take advantage until Keith Lee and Riddle got to fight one-on-one for a bit. And then we got to see like a bunch of one-on-ones. There was that one point that almost actually does come into play when basically he launches AJ Styles onto Keith Lee, who hits him with a knee. After the break, Matt Riddle is in control for a little bit. He hits a senton on Lee successfully, and as he's going for a senton on AJ Styles, though, AJ gets his knees up, and basically, yeah, like I there was just a lot to talk about. I felt like the story beats were really great, and I felt like everyone had a really good chance at winning. But I'm actually really, really happy that the way that it ended. To be honest with you, I thought it was pretty clever as well. Like it didn't make Riddle look weak, and it didn't make Keith Lee look weak at all. Yeah.
So one thing is that Riddle looked very good. I think that the way they're treating him on Raw is a lot different than on SmackDown. He feels like a much bigger player. There were plenty of moments where he was beating everybody up. He was in full control. And that's kind of how the ending was, because it looked like he was going to win. He was able to take out Lee with some solid knee strikes, and he took out AJ as well. But when he finally took out Lee, AJ was back, and he was able to hit the phenomenal forearm out of nowhere and pick up the win while Lee was down. It was a very nice sequence. There was a lot of cool stuff. There was a German to AJ. There was one point where AJ was going to hit the Styles Clash, and like Lee was grabbing him while he was holding Riddle. Who knows what could have happened there, but that didn't turn into like a massive thing, but that could have been cool. But yeah, the right guy won. AJ winning makes the most sense, I think. Keith Lee winning would have been maybe a bizarre feud with him and Drew, because you're not going to give it to Lee and Drew is just going to beat Lee. It doesn't make sense. Riddle could have been interesting, but like I feel like it's better to let him just soak with the audience with his funny backstage segments that I've been entertained by.
Just be patient and let him grow. I think that's a really good way of going about it. So we have a quick interview backstage with Miz and Morrison and Charlie Caruso. She talks about how their strategy to cause a rift between Sheamus and Drew kind of backfired, and the Miz talks about how there's always a plan. And Charlie actually calls him up because she's like, you've been stating a lot of facts, but you don't actually have a plan to present. And
then they just run off.
Yeah, well, this is where John Morrison is like, actually, I got an idea, and then they walk off.
Yeah.
So now we have Dana Brooke versus Reckoning. There is a quick video package of Reckoning and Ali, and basically they talk about like, how dare you touch the leader of Retribution, and Dana like, you're my problem now, and you will meet your reckoning. The match begins, and not even 10 seconds into the match, Reckoning loses her match, and by God, it's Mia Yim.
Right? Yeah, so she lost her mask right away. It was immediately, like the first lockup.
Yeah. And yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I mean, the match was okay. Like, it wasn't like amazing or whatever. Like, they gave them about 2 minutes. Mia Yim hits Dana Brooke with a bunch of chops, and she starts working on the back of Dana Brooke with a submission hold. Dana does fight back. We get to see her athleticism. This is where Ali decides to cause a distraction. Then Reckoning goes for a big boot. She misses, and Dana Brooke just kind of rolls her up for the win. Ali is livid. He's yelling at Reckoning, and he says that there's no failure in Retribution. And that's it.
Yeah, he was very mad at Reckoning for losing. And, I mean, there's been a lot of failure in Retribution. Let's be honest. Come on. You can't, like, cut her some slack. If anything, it was the distraction that led her to lose. But it is what it is.
So
moving on, we have AJ backstage, and Miz and Morrison show up, and they offer him a peach pie because he's from Georgia. And AJ's like, listen, I know what you guys are here for. You want me to help you with Drew McIntyre and cashing in and everything tonight. And he's actually willing to help because he says it's probably easier to beat The Miz for the title than it is to beat Drew McIntyre. And then Morrison's like, yeah, you're probably right, which I thought was great. Eventually, AJ's like, they agree, and they'll see each other tonight. Miz and Morrison walk off, and then AJ's holding the pie and almost is like, that's not a pie, that's a cupcake.
Because he's so big.
Because he's big.
It's so funny.
It's funny. I liked it.
I liked it too.
We get the last of the Riddle backstage segments, and it's actually Riddle nursing his wounds he lost. He's feeling down. MVP goes up to him, and he's like, what's going on? What happened? And Riddle's like, oh yeah, it sucks to lose, but at least I got a chance, unlike Lashley, who didn't qualify. And MVP doesn't like that. He kind of gets mad, but Riddle's like, let's just talk about our business ventures. And he has a bunch of great business ideas, but eventually MVP says, I think they're all dumb, and he's glad he lost. And Riddle again does the aw, which is
it's the best.
He's sad. It's super funny. And he kind of like shoves Riddle, and Riddle gets upset, but before Riddle can do anything about it, Lashley appears and locks him in the hurt lock and takes him out.
Yep.
And he calls him his bro as a joke. So Lashley's always good with those one-liners, I find.
Yeah, for sure. And so now we're going to quickly go to Sheamus, who's getting ready backstage for his match up next. But Keith Lee shows up, and he says that, it's not my business, but a couple of the fellas backstage think that you're going to turn on your partner, Drew McIntyre. And Sheamus just says that it's none of his business. So something that they could visit.
He's like, you're right. It is none of your business. Now, if you excuse me, I'm going to go turn on my partner, which I thought was kind of hilarious.
Yeah. So now, before our main event, we do have Drew McIntyre in the ring. Charlie Caruso actually presents him. And he basically starts talking about his last 2 weeks and how it's been really crazy because just 2 weeks ago, he beat Randy Orton to get his WWE title back. And then he faced off against Roman Reigns. He talks about how he feels good to be standing here as the champion once again. And, he told Orton that he was going to Claymore his head off, and he did that. He's a man of his words. He also told Roman that he was going to humble him. He did, because, Drew showed that he kept fighting and fighting after spear, and all it took was his cousin Jey Uso to kind of cause a distraction and Roman Reigns to win. But to be honest with you, I don't know how I really felt about this promo because it didn't progress anything and it didn't really say much besides the fact that Drew and Roman are not done and Drew's probably going to see him down the line.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. But then he also had a great line where he was saying, I kicked out of spear after spear and I saw the fear in you or something. Yeah. So it was spitting a bit of bars there. But then he talked about AJ for TLC. And he talked about Miz, saying that the briefcase is the only thing that keeps him relevant. And he says that if he has to, he'll fold up Morrison, put him in the briefcase, and shove it where the sun don't shine. So I thought the promo was very effective. I think Drew is an amazing babyface. I don't agree that the story didn't really progress. He talked about what happened up until now, and he says what's going to happen moving forward. It wasn't extraordinary, revolutionary, but it did the job.
Yeah, it was
and then
fine.
Sheamus comes out.
It was fine
for the match.
But I mean, in terms of progression, he just stated things that we already knew. So how is that progression? You know what I mean? But anyways, that's just my opinion. That's fine.
Would you have preferred that he just didn't pretend like the Roman Reigns thing didn't happen? I don't know.
I would have preferred him not to cut a promo if the promo didn't mean anything. But that's fine. I guess again that's just what I think. But yeah, so Sheamus comes in, and AJ Styles is actually there on commentary as well.
This was funny because I'm like, you can see Joe and AJ talking, and I'm like, Joe, just say Wendy once for me. Come on. It was so funny to have them just interact like they're all buddies.
Yeah, but
this match, it's pretty good. I mean, Sheamus and McIntyre are in firm control for the beginning until Sheamus gets distracted by AJ. They kind of get in each other's face, almost gets involved, and then after the commercial, it's all Miz and Morrison taking out Sheamus for a bit. But again, it's not enough to overcome this. Sheamus gets his hot tag. Drew starts beating everybody up, tossing everybody around. Looks like he's going to go for the win. Sheamus really wants a tag in to take them out because of what happened earlier, which I don't blame him. And Drew is happy to give him the tag, but he can't because Morrison attacks Sheamus on the apron and takes him out. And then AJ, out of nowhere, phenomenal forearm, takes out Drew, and he's like, Miz, cash in. They all take turns using their moves. I think there's the Starship Pain, Skull Crushing Finale. Miz is a little hesitant to cash in, and he's kind of arguing with AJ for some reason because he touched a briefcase. But finally, they decide to go for the cash in. But during this debacle, Drew is already back up, and before he can officially cash in, Morrison gets taken out. Miz eats a Claymore. And before AJ can get involved,
so funny.
Almost kind of, it was weird because he kind of like, he's in the ring and then he like rolls out of the ring and onto almost his shoulders. And then he's like squealing, saying, "Oh, you're lucky he saved you." And I'm being held back. And I think he elbowed him in the face by accident because of the way he was on his shoulders at one point, which was kind of funny. And then they just circle around the ring and AJ's just yelling, doing his thing. And Drew's like, just piss me off. I dare you. And that's kind of how Raw ends. He does make a funny comment calling almost the Jackass and the Beanstalk, which was kind of funny.
Yeah, I remember that. But yeah, I mean, it was really funny how AJ is kind of like hiding behind Omos and being like, actually, you're so lucky that Omos was the one that kind of, prevented me from kicking your ass. I thought it was pretty good from AJ Styles.
He's playing that role really well right now, so I'm totally a fan of AJ Styles. Like, this is one of those things where it's like, I'm going to compare it to SmackDown. We have Roman Reigns, Kevin Owens possibly brewing for TLC, and now we have Drew and AJ brewing. And it's like, I don't think the champions are going to lose, are in danger of losing at all. But I think that they can do a really good setup, build, and match for both these feuds.
Oh, for sure. I mean, TLC, if you look at the possible matches that we might be getting, I think it's shaping up to be an excellent pay-per-view. And that's always good to see from a B-level pay-per-view. It
always is. Like, I always have fond memories of TLC, like the time that Asuka beat Charlotte and Becky in that triple threat, because Ronda, that was a great TLC. Like, it's always a nice one, and it's like they gotta deliver right before the Royal Rumble. I feel so. Absolutely. They most likely will.
Absolutely. So that was our recap for Monday Night Raw. If I had to give it like a number, actually, I think it was safe to say that this was a solid 8. There was a lot of things that I really enjoyed. Number one, I think AJ Styles is the best number one contender at this current moment. I also like the interaction between Randy Orton and Alexa Bliss. Again, Alexa Bliss just kind of continues to impress with her great acting. Some of the downsides, it just really sucks that Mia Yim lost against Dana Brooke. Like, no offense to Dana Brooke, but I just find that, like, some weeks, Retribution looks really good, and some weeks they look like chumps, and this week they actually look like absolute chumps.
It was like half-half, because Slapjack won, but, like, did he? It was like, but, yeah, I agree. This week with Retribution wasn't as good as it was the last few weeks where they were getting stronger and stronger. So, solid episode of Raw. Mostly every segment was great. A couple of things that were, like, unfortunate, like you said, Dana Brooke and Reckoning was such a nothing match. There was a few nothing matches too. Lana and Asuka versus Shania was good, but like it just was kind of like copy paste from last week. Mm-hmm. But there were a lot of really strong segments with Randy Orton, Drew McIntyre, the triple threat, sudden death, even the Symphony of Destruction match, which when it was announced, I'm like, this is going to be a boring segment. And I was actually pleasantly surprised. No,
it was really good. And let's not forget Riddle. Riddle was on fire
with his backstage segments, and his performance in the match was also amazing. Like, keep it up. I hope they keep doing segments like that with him, where he's like he's friendly with everybody, but then he gets mad if like you cross him, and he has very good showings in his matches. So like just keep it up. A Lashley feud with Riddle could be amazing, and maybe he could be the U.S. champion. Who knows?
It could be. I mean, it could be a good first stepping stone for Matt Riddle. But that's it. So that was our recap for Monday Night Raw. If you do enjoy our content, there's a subscribe button that's right there, the like button that's right there, and the description box. You'll find us basically on social media and wherever you listen to audio podcast. And that's it. We'll see you guys for our SmackDown recap.
Hey, is it safe to say that The Undertaker's final farewell is over? Like,
oh my God.
We were worried it was never going to end, but like there was no mention of it.
That's true, and I guess now the attention has kind of gone. By the way, have you seen his cameos? His cameos are really hilarious.
No, I have not. I probably should.
He like I remember at one point he talks about like just random things. Like he talks about like people getting married, and he talks about how like and then he says rest in peace at the end, but it's just weird. I find it so funny, but Undertaker doing cameos is like the funniest thing I've ever seen.
Well, imagine you're just a person and someone like requests you to make a 5-second clip saying something for like a bunch of cash. Like that's a pretty sweet deal.
It was $1,000 per cameo, by the way.
Jesus. Well, there you go. That's how you make it in this world.
All right, guys. If you want our cameos, just let us know.
We don't have to charge $1,000. That's just ludicrous.
Exactly. We'll charge you 1,000 pennies instead.
Just a like and it's free would be appreciated.
Yes, exactly.